Hi, this is your friendly neighborhood leftist, Sophie of sexwithsophie.com, here with another episode of Call a Liberal, where we open this space to anyone who wants to chit chat about the social issues of the day. If you're somebody who has questions, if you're somebody who thinks differently, if you're somebody who wants to gloat or share just how excited you are about some of the events that are unfolding as of late. That's what this is here for. So, this is your time to call somebody who perhaps thinks a little differently than you, or to share some fears and concerns with somebody who maybe thinks similarly to you. But above all, this is not a debate show. I'm not skilled in such ways. I respect like Destiny and Dean Withers and Javon Bradley so much, but I could never. So this is not a gotcha moment. This is not a time for you to feel like you're cornered. Again, this is a safe space. We know how rare those are these days. For people who think, again, maybe in a white supremacist sort of a mindset, or a Nazi-esque sort of mindset, or if you're MAGA, if you voted for Trump, believe it or not, this is a safe space for you. Like if you want to chit chat about some of the things that you see on my list above or over here, depending on depending on where you're watching me from. It's sorry, I've been trying to get her to go to sleep for so long. It is not happening. But yeah, you're welcome to interrupt me at literally any time. Uh, Today I kind of had the whole trans debate on my mind, so I'm just chit chatting about that a little bit in between calls. You're welcome to weigh in on this or any topic at all that I have listed above or otherwise. If it's on your mind, if it's something that you're being affected with lately, hi, hello. But I don't. Yeah, I don't. There's no itinerary. This is literally your time and your space. How many months do you think abortion should be viable for? All 9 months. At any point within the pregnancy that it's needed, the woman should be able to do that. The reason I say that, it might sound really callous, but a lot of people aren't aware that after like the 24-week mark where the baby is potentially viable, you can actually have abortions that are non-fatal to the fetus. So you can have what's called a hysterotomy abortion. It's basically a early C-section. You can, no, not really. Somebody said Donald John Trump is your president. I don't live in America, so I don't really have to subscribe to his bullshittery. But there's also induction abortions, of course, which are just inducing an abortion. So abortion is technically just the termination of a pregnancy. It can also mean the evacuation of the pregnancy material from the body. Yeah, it is. John is his middle name. Um, yeah. So again, I'm fine with abortions in all 9 months because again, once the baby's viable, there are options to terminate the pregnancy without uh, the fetus being killed. Fun fact: this little baby, she was born at 23 weeks. 23 weeks. So she was very early. And so it's one of those things. Yeah, give me a buzz. In fact, if you want to call, well, think about this. You say, what kind of sicko gets an abortion at 9 months? The thing is, there's maybe 1% of abortions that go past the second trimester. So there's nobody actually having that that case scenario actually happen. But what does tend to happen is around like the 20-week mark. That's when women tend to get, or pregnant people, excuse me, tend to get their first real thorough ultrasound, and that's when a lot of the problems that could show that the baby's non-viable or needs to be terminated for their own safety, essentially, or for the pregnant person's own safety, those decisions might be made around that time. And so that's just something to consider. Again, nobody's getting late term abortions like that. So most people get those when they have kids with like DS, right? Um, what's so funny is uh there's a lot of parents who find out that their child's going to have some kind of disability like Down syndrome, and then they don't choose to abort. So the fact that you're taking away the option from people who might not want to bring a child with special needs into this world, um, you're there's plenty of women who don't mind, who are prepared to do that. So I think it's just sad that really, quite frankly, when you're talking about, I'm not from Canada, but when you're talking about some abortion, I don't think I can really say the word. Again, it's really just about having options for whatever is necessary for the pregnant person's situation. So I find it really sad that, again, all we're doing when we have abortion bans or 6-week bans or whatever is we're just taking those options away. Yeah. And the reason that Donald Trump says, oh, there must be punishment for, no, I would say pregnant people, because trans men can get pregnant, non-binary people, intersex people can get pregnant. So it's not very fair to specifically say pregnant woman. So I do try to catch myself. Somebody said, I hope you find Jesus. Who is Jesus? 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 Who is that? Help me out a little bit. Sorry, oh wow, so many people. I guess we're talking about abortion tonight, but that's fine. I will tell you, I wouldn't have this little one without some abortion, without an AB. So I'm a big fan, a big old fan of abortion. Let's see, because usually people get an abortion when they realize their kids have disability. But again, not always, not always. And so I think it's great that, again, there's the option if you're not in a position to raise a child who has a disability, or if the disability is so severe that it's going to cause that child pain or irreparable harm throughout their life. If I was in that position, again, at that 20-week scan, when you have all those tests done, my husband and I had, yes. But my husband and I made that decision that if there was a situation where, our baby was going to be, so sorry, severely disabled, we would have terminated the pregnancy, because I wouldn't want to put that poor baby through that for their whole life. I'm an older mom. I'm 42. And so I couldn't imagine then passing away and then putting the responsibility of this special needs child on my other child. So it just, if that were the case, I'm glad, again, that abortion was an option for me. I'm so sorry. I'm trying to keep up with comments. And again, if you want to interrupt at any time and give me a buzz, you're more than welcome. Also, pro tip, if you press *67 before you dial that number, then you actually can block your number from my caller ID if that's a concern for you. Somebody said less than 1% of pregnant women have an abortion due to medical reasons. The other 99% are choice. That is not true at all. As a matter of fact, that statistic is true in regards to late-term abortions. So only like 1% of abortions happen after like I want to say like the 13-week or 20-week point, somewhere within the first trimester. So that's just inaccurate. I encourage you to look into the statistics a little better. Let's see, which is usually a few months to figure out. Okay, are you from Canada? Again, no. I am American. No. What's wrong? Are you gonna go to sleep? I live in the UK, and so it's very late here. It's like almost 12:30 in the morning. So she should have been asleep a long time ago. Put it up for adoption then. Again, that's not always a viable option, especially with a special needs child. My 5-year-old, we adopted her as a baby. through DSS. I am so sorry. I genuinely was hoping she would be well into some sleepy times by now. You're so loud. Oh, here, you want a bottle? I got the bottle for you. I got your bottle right here. Here you go. You don't want this? But like I was saying, my 5-year old, my now 5-year old, is adopted. We adopted her through DSS, and let me tell you, like the amount of children in the foster care system who have special needs is unreal. I mean, and it takes special people to take on that responsibility. So I would, upon learning that my child would be special needs, again, our decision would have been to terminate simply because I couldn't forcibly put somebody through that. But the cool thing is, if you ask me, again, around that 20-week mark when women, pregnant people get that really thorough scan of their fetus, that's usually a time when they find out there's problems. That's well before the point at which that fetus achieves what's called sentience. Sentience is when that baby has the capacity to feel feelings, essentially. So if you do terminate the pregnancy again before that 24 week mark, which is when she was born, which is crazy. But that's when you're doing it in a way that's, I think, respectful of your child. You're not forcing them to live to the point that they're going to potentially feel the feelings or the harm or the pain that comes with the process. And so, for all things considered, again, I think it's all good. Very, very pro abortion, very pro adoption, until I actually started talking to a lot of adoptees. I don't know if you know, but like a lot of adoptees, just look on TikTok for like adoptee accounts, and they'll share how it's just not all roses and sunshine. There's a lot of people who adopt children for the wrong reasons, and there's a lot of harm that can come to a lot of adopted children. I read a really amazing book about adoptees that was called 20 Things Your Adopted Child Wants You to Know But Is Afraid to Ask You, or something like that. Amazing book, but it's what really kind of opened my eyes to the fact that there is so much trauma. There's so much trauma associated with adoption. So again, if you can avoid that at all costs, great. But again, having the option to abort your baby doesn't mean that every woman's going to do that. Again, just because Roe versus Wade was in effect, there were still plenty of kids put up for adoption. So not every woman chooses that option. So why take it away from everybody else? So sorry. Again, I hope you find Jesus. Who is Jesus? Thank you for the engagement. I got some Trump 2025. That's helpful. Thank you. Let's see. Who is Jesus? I keep saying this. I would love an explanation for who this person is. The kid will live a life of pain, and adoption is challenging. This is true. Am I sure I'm following you? You're making a lot of sense. Let's see. They cannot. Not too sure what you're referring to. I don't see him. I think you're right. Everyone has their own opinion, but our Lord and Savior will save you one day. Who is this? And when he does, I hope you think of this message. I'm just not sure what you're referring to. I hope you remember this in a few years. Really not sure, again, what you're referring to. 1.14% is easily found information. Again, I'm sorry. I'm going to try to keep up with the comments a little better because I'm getting lost in the sauce, y'all. Or, again, give me a buzz. I'm happy to chit-chat through all this with you. I think what my show is intending to do, again, it's not to debate. I just really want to kind of get on the horn and unpack some things with people, because I'm willing to bet, even on a topic that's as like polarizing as abortion, I'm willing to bet we can actually find some common ground. Because like Mama, it sounds like you have some misinformation around like perhaps like why or the reasons that people choose to do have a abortion or whatever. And the thing about it is, it doesn't matter. So I think if we can kind of get past the fact that whatever you choose to do for yourself is fine. If you're of the mindset that abortion is bad and it's evil and don't get one. But the second you then try to say, oh, you need to change your behavior, or you need to not do this, or I'm going to put a law in place that restricts your ability to choose, that's when I have a problem with it. And that's when I think if you, again, take a step back from your own perhaps misogyny, that'll help you to open your eyes to the fact that your hate is actually killing more women. It's actually hurting more babies. It's actually forcing children to be born who are products of rape and incest. Excuse me, grape and incest. So, yeah, I think you're an empathetic person. I think if you're somebody who's pro life, I love that you're so kind hearted and you're thinking of these little babies, but the facts of the matter just don't bear out or justify your anger or even your fear for these poor babies that are not actually babies, if that makes sense. We can also talk a lot about where your vitriol is really emanating from, because a lot of the things that you cite, like I see a lot of Bible Christian stuff happening, but God doesn't give a shit about abortion. God was very pro choice. So we could talk about that a little bit if you have questions. Like the Bible is very, very pro kill them babies. So yeah, we can talk about that a little bit. Um let us see. Thank you, Maestro. You were just thank you. Somebody said wokeness is over. What does that mean to you? Like when you say woke, can you define that for me? Saying abortion is awesome is wild. Abortion is amazing. I would not have this little one without some abortion. Just to kind of quickly, I've shared this story before, but if you're new here, I had IVF, and it was successful, but unfortunately, I lost that little one at 7 weeks, which is after the point at which a lot of states have some abortion bans. So I lost my first IVF attempt at 7 weeks, and unfortunately, it was what's called an incomplete miscarriage, and so I was unable to essentially pass the dead embryo, because it's still an embryo up until like the 13-week mark. You got a burp, baby. You got a burp. Okay. So yeah, so I lost that baby, did not pass it completely, had to have some abortion. I had to have a dilation and curettage, or DNC. I live in the UK, so it was done the very next day. And then 30 days later, I was pregnant with her from my second IVF attempt. So again, without some abortion, I would not have this little baby. So I'm very, very, very of the mindset that yes, it is awesome. Forcing them to live. Yeah, yeah. If you're preventing a pregnant person from getting a some abortion, and you force, let's say again, that's a non-viable fetus. It's maybe its brain isn't developing well, or it's got a special a disability or some kind of aberration, and you force that baby to grow beyond that point of so sorry beyond that point of sentience, then yes, that's forcing that baby to live and then get to a point where they could again potentially feel the pain of not only maybe potentially the some abortion if they're still able to get that, but they could feel that pain of being born and then suffocating to death or dying after 2 or 3 days. So yeah, I would not wish that on any baby. Come on. Let's see. Only reason for some abortion is essay, exception, and health risks. Zach, I appreciate that you're concerned about, people who've had, a grape or a situation like that. Like, that's really sweet of you. The problem is that a lot of times when women or men are raped, it's not often reported. A lot of times the health risks might be difficult for the doctor to assess. It might not be so life threatening that they're able to get that exception just yet. And again, that's one of those times where often in those cases the baby is forced to grow into a point of being able to feel pain. So no, so it's not a benefit, but we do have this litmus test of Roe versus Wade being abolished, and all these different abortion bans coming into play, and seeing how it's killing women and pregnant people, and seeing how again those exceptions are never actually realized. So it's just one of those things where, again, I think because you're such an empathetic person, if we can talk about how we can perhaps apply that then to the actual living person, I think that would be amazing. I don't think we're very far away from our thinking. Let's see. Okay, we talked about that. Instead of adoption, maybe just be careful or accept the consequences unless SA exception. Again, there is no SA exception because it's very difficult for that to be proven. Do you know how many great cases take if they're reported at all, actually get convictions? I mean, like, the fact that you have to prove this before you can then terminate your rapist baby is ludicrous to me. In fact, there was a stat that says ever since Roe versus Wade was overturned, 65,000 pregnant people were forced to carry their rapist baby to term. They were unable to seek, 65,000 people were unable to seek some abortion care for their rapist babies. So the fact that, again, we have this litmus test of just how horribly wrong things can go from Roe versus Wade being overturned, and now we're facing potentially federal and national some abortion bans, like, this is scary. It's really quite scary. And also, you have to ask yourself, why does it matter? So what? So what if a woman just doesn't want that for herself right now, is not financially ready? A lot of times, like, I think it's something of like 50 to 60% of people who go to seek some abortion care are already mothers. I'm sorry, I think it's like 65%. I'll have to look that stat up. But the majority of people that go to seek out some abortion already have children. So it's not about, oh, we're trying to raise a family, and these are people who are trying to preserve their family and take care of their existing kids. What happened today? Ew, you're spitting on me. That's not very nice. But yeah, it's one of those things where you have to think about, where does your hatred of women come from that you wouldn't allow someone to just make the decision for themselves about how and when they want to grow their family? What if it's somebody who's so irresponsible? What if it's somebody who's like, yeah, girl, what you doing this weekend? Hey, mama, this weekend, let's go get us some abortion, girl. Let's make a party out of it. We're gonna have the party bus pick us up. Let's get the girls together. We're gonna have some abortion party. Who the fuck thinks that way? It's not like women are out here making taking this decision lightly. It's not like it's something that is easy for people to choose to do. And also, if I were such an irresponsible person that I wait to use some abortion care as my form of birth control, and I don't care, and I'm out here being crazy and irresponsible, why do you want to force me to be a mom? Why do you want to force a child to have me as a mother if I'm so irresponsible and uncouth? So, it's just something to think about. Again, 1.14% of some abortions are medically necessary. Here's the thing. I'll take it, sure. In fact, that tracks, because again, only 1% of some abortions happen. Why? Why? What's your mind? To go to sleep. It's like 12:30 in the morning here. She is up. Goodbye, honey bun. So yeah, it's one of those things where, sure, mama, yes, I'll take that as fact. And it still doesn't change anything for me, because the people who just elect to have a abortion, I think that's perfectly fine for them. I want to ask you a question if you're still on. Why do you think women, we'll say women, why do you think that women have sex? What are the primary motivations of anyone, but particularly a woman, to have sex? I'm so curious to know what you think. Um, so it's not about mindset again. So what if they're in a shitty mindset? Do you want somebody with a shitty mindset to have a baby? How does murder not make you angry? Again, it's not murder. You don't know the Bible. Don't pretend. Oh, girl, honey bun. Here we go. So, okay, the only mention of abortion in the Bible is a how-to guide. So if you have a look at Numbers 5:11, it's essentially a how to forcibly have your wife have a abortion if you suspect, not catch her, not prove, suspect that she's cheating on you. So that's literally the only mention of abortion in the Bible. And then furthermore, God, he kills kids. He unalives, excuse me, I'm so sorry. He unalives women who are with child, like literally all the time. Like people will ask him, hey God, I want you to smite this whole city. And he's like, done. like like killing all the people, all the potentially pregnant women, all the actual pregnant women, firstborn kids. Like, we're not even going to talk about babies. He actually just unalives specifically pregnant women. And so it's one of those things where God doesn't care. Your Christian Bible doesn't care. Every other religious text does not care. So the only reason you have to ask yourself, then, why am I mad? And I'm so sorry. You gotta go to sleep. You wanna rest your head? Rest your head upon my bosom. You want to go to sleep? You okay? What's up with you? You're a nut. Anywho. So yeah, you have to look at the history behind your hate. Okay? So one of the things that happens is in the 1970s, the late 1970s, the Heritage Foundation, does that sound familiar? Basically got pissed that the federal government was forcing churches and religious institutions like schools and universities to integrate their churches and their universities. They got so pissed about that they tried to like whip up the fervor of their constituency and their congregations to say, hey, isn't it shitty that they're taking away our religious freedoms to be bigots? And it didn't really go over well. In fact, they ended up losing a couple of court cases where they lost their federal grants for or in their tax exempt statuses because they refused to integrate like a couple of their universities and stuff. And so then so mind you, Roe versus Wade was enacted in 1973. It wasn't until like 1978, I want to say, that you first started hearing churches then latch on to abortion as their call to arms, as their now topic of to rile up their base and stuff. And so the literal only reason you're mad is so you can continue to vote the way they want you to, and to think the way they want you to, and to hate the way they want you to, so that they can maintain control over you. And I'm not making any of this up. Like, please look up Paul Weyrich, Weyrich. He's a co-founder of the Heritage Foundation. He's the first one to really push this. So again, you start to see towards the late 1970s, half a decade after Roe versus Wade was enacted, that there's this new moral minority, and there's this new push with like pastors like Jerry Falwell really attacking abortion as an issue all of a sudden. So it's not something that was ever really a big deal until these people wanted to maintain control over their base. So you really have to, again, think about why you're so mad and why you want to, again, punish people, particularly women, for situations that not 50 years ago were not that, just weren't that serious to, your congregation or your religion. So mama, adoption is so much more challenging than people think. Also, plenty of kids will also die. It's just absolute truth. Absolute truth. Again, we adopted our 5-year-old who, from day 3 through DSS. And before then, I mean, we had to have all the classes. We had to, be vetted. We had the home studies. We had all the things. We had to have classes on how to prescribe or how to do medicine and CPR and all the things. And then once you get licensed, then you're able to like see which children are available and they can present you with kids and whatnot. We got extraordinarily lucky. And I mean like extraordinarily lucky. We were on like a program that let us submit like our family book. So me, my husband, and our dogs, and we made a little book so that if a mother was pregnant and wanted to, adopt out her baby, she could pick the family that she wanted to give her baby to. And so we were chosen by a wonderful woman in North Carolina, and she gave us her daughter. And so she's been our daughter ever since. And so this was on day 2 of her being born that we found out we would be her parents. And best thing that ever happened to me, but absolutely the process was ridiculous. I think it took us a good year just to get licensed. Ow. What's so beautiful though is even though it took us a long time to get licensed, we got licensed in January of 2019 and we got our daughter in March of 2019. So it only took a few months once we were licensed to actually be able to adopt our daughter. And then that process took a couple years because then COVID happened and all the legal stuff that we had to do was like stymied. So the adoption process is no joke. So it's no joke for you, but it's also no joke for your poor baby. So again, we went through DSS. So we had a lot of like guardrails in place. We had a lot of help. We had a lot of classes, a lot of support groups and whatnot. But you have a lot of these people out here who go to foreign countries to adopt babies, or they go through agencies to adopt babies. They don't have nearly the same level of scrutiny or follow-up. Like our daughter's 5 years old and we still have communication with a dedicated social worker that's like our adoption specialist to help us maintain a relationship with her mom. And so we have that because we went through the system. But a lot of people who just go through these foreign adoptions or even like local ones that are just agencies, they don't have that. And that's where you end up with these stories where, unfortunately, like these little black kids are adopted to white people, but they're treated like slaves or they're forced to live on a tarp in a garage because there's just no follow-up. You have these situations where kids are just treated horribly. Hi. Hi, Empire. So nice to see you. Thanks for watching. Honestly, I'm just kind of responding to comments, but if anybody wants to interrupt her and give me a call at any time, you're more than welcome. As a matter of fact, you can dial *67 before you call the number on your screen, and that'll actually hide your number from my caller ID if that's a concern of yours. Unfortunately, I am still a very baby TikToker, so I don't have the ability to add guests just yet. Hopefully in the next couple days, because I'm fulfilling all of my requirements for that. But I am streaming to a lot of other places, including some of my alt-right places. Hi, friends. So I have Gab and Locals, X and Kick, of course. The crazy thing is I was on True Social. Oh boy. But Donald Trump fucking banned me. He banned my ass from True Social like the first day he was inaugurated. So that said a lot to me because again, my show, Call a Liberal, is all about not debate, but absolutely just trying to find. Oh, thank you. Hi, Zach. Thanks for the like. But it's about trying to find common ground. So even with this really contentious issue we've been talking about today with abortion and stuff, I think, just to be able to inform people that why that it's not something that people take lightly, that a lot of your hatred for some abortion might stem from your hatred of women. And you have to look at why you might want to punish people who are just trying to do the best things for themselves and their families. Also we talked a lot about how it's not in the Bible and where your gripes with abortion really came from and come from. And so it's one of those things where you have to look at, where does your hate come from? Why are you so mad about this issue? Especially when it doesn't have shit to do with you. A lot of men chime in on this, like, when is this ever going to affect your life? It's one of those things where, again, once you start to make decisions for other people, you really have to know what you're doing. And a lot of people who hear my story about how I had to have some abortion after I miscarried my first IVF attempt, they try to say, oh, that's not a some abortion. So if you genuinely can't explain what an abortion is, how are you going to then make decisions for other people about it when you're not even aware of the full definition of what it entails or could entail? So I'm glad that we were able to, again, inform, hopefully bridge and nudge people into a place of more empathy. But that's really what I want to do with any of the topics I have listed above, any of the topics that seem to be very progressive or progressively left. I think we actually can find way more common ground with each other than you would think. So, like, even with some abortion, I very much appreciate that people are concerned, that there seems to be a beautiful respect for life and living. So, again, I would expect then that those people who are very pro-life and very pro-baby to also support, early Head Start, to also support SNAP, to also support free breakfast and lunch programs, to also support all these other things that unfortunately seem to be coming under fire from like the Trump administration and stuff. So, this is not a gotcha show. I'm not a good debater. I'm not going to sit here and tell you your logical fallacy. Right. We're not going to do that. We're very nice. I don't think that people on the right, you're so silly. I don't think even the most white supremacist Nazi, MAGA, I don't even think those people who I encounter so many of on like sites like Gab and stuff, I don't think they're my enemy. I don't think we're necessarily even as far apart from our desires and wants for ourselves and for our families. I just think it's important then that we question where this hate comes from, why you feel we're so different when we're so not, and show that we have so much more in common with each other than anybody, below the 0.001% of wealthy people in our country have with any of us. So that's kind of the hope and the goal. Again, please keep your comments coming, but you're more than welcome to also call in if you want to interrupt at any time. Again, I'm a baby TikToker, hoping to have the guest access really soon. And let me actually make sure I'm not missing. TikTok really gets going, so I feel like I miss comments from some of my other platforms I'm streaming to. Like, hey Rose, sorry I missed you. Oh my gosh. Yeah, like YouTube and Rumble, which is a very alt-right kind of a place. So I have some people watching on X and stuff. So thanks to you guys for tuning in. I very much appreciate it. Especially my Rumble folks. And I see some watchers, but you're also so welcome to call in and interrupt at any time if you want to chit chat about any of the topics that I have listed. above, or if you want to chat about anything else that's on your mind. And I'm willing to make a bet. I'm willing to bet you money that if you pick a topic that you think there's no way we can find some common ground on, I want to prove you wrong. I'm willing to bet that we can actually find something that we can agree on when it comes to any of these topics. I know DEI has been popping up a lot. And one of the things that I find to be so fascinating with the hatred towards DEI is the reason that people on the right and people who are maybe a little bit bigoted, but having a hard time admitting that to themselves, the reason that they are so anti DEI. And again, I'm so sorry. I thought you would be sleeping. Why are you still up? It's almost 1 o'clock in the morning here. Again, I live in the UK. But yeah, when it comes to DEI, people who are anti DEI are literally saying, I don't want people who are qualified for a position to not get it due to their skin color. Is that not the anti DEI stance, right? So how is that any different from the DEI stance? You don't want people who are very qualified for a position or a seat at a university to lose out on that opportunity due to the color of their skin. The thing is, people who understand DEI know that it's also, they don't want those people to lose those opportunities due to their gender or due to their disability or due to their language or due to their income level or due to the way they love. Like DEI is so much more pervasive than what I think the anti-DEI crowd give it credit for. So again, I think once we can explain that and again find some common ground that we're all on the same page here, people who deserve these opportunities should have the ability to shoot their shot, you know? I think we can find that again, we all agree. We're all in agreement on these things. So yeah, and if you disagree, if you're like, no, it's just a bad thing and screw you, you know, I'm more than willing to hear you out. I'm more than willing to understand how I'm wrong in my belief that, again, we're saying this same fucking thing. So I feel like when it comes to literally any of these topics, I was trying to maybe talk a little bit about the trans scare and the trans agenda today. But we've really been heavy on babies and some abortion. Gee, I wonder why. So, I'm so sorry. Like, I genuinely, she needs to be asleep. Again, I live in the UK. It is almost 1 in the morning. It's so far past her bedtime. She's like, it's so well lit in here. So, gee, mom, I wonder why I can't go to sleep. You gonna go to sleep? But one of the things I wanted to lift up when it came to the whole trans issue was that I would love to imagine a world where the trans agenda was a real thing and everybody suddenly wanted to be trans, you know? Suddenly I wake up and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm actually a man. How does that actually stop the world from turning? How is that a bad thing? What could potentially happen that is so horrible if everybody was trans, you know? Oh honey, it's not like people couldn't get surrogates and freeze their sperm and do whatever they wanted to do. So no, I just would love to play that thought experiment out with people who are transphobic. Like, what if everybody were trans? What's so wrong with being trans? Like, what does that hurt? Who does that hurt? And I think again, if we have a lot of misinformation, especially when it comes to kids and gender affirming care and things like that. So if there's things that we can again rectify people's thinking on, I'd love to do that. One of the things that I hear a lot when it comes to the trans debate is like women in sports, and that a lot of the things they're doing is to protect women in sports. When in actuality, I think if people who were very transphobic knew, oh gosh, girl, that only out of the 500,000 NCAA athletes, less than 10, less than 10 are trans or identify as trans. That this is such a fucking non-issue. It's such a non-issue. And then also there's studies that literally show that trans women on hormone replacement therapy have less athletic capability than their cis counterparts. So, they have less respiratory capacity, they have less muscle mass and less grip strength, less everything. So for a trans woman to compete against a cis woman, it's literally like a cis woman competing against a cis woman. So if a trans woman is out here winning awards, can you imagine how amazingly hard she had to work in order to beat her counterparts when the hormone replacement therapy that she's on is actually stymieing all the benefits that she could have had from her days of living as a man? So I mean, it's absolutely silly to me that, again, if we can share this information, that when it comes to the trans women in sports thing, all that's really letting people do when you try to say, oh, I'm trying to protect women, all that really does is allow people to fuck with black women. That's literally all you're doing. Have you not seen like how many people are calling out cis black women for being a man and looking like men, and because especially people of color don't tend to conform to heteronormative cis white women, European beauty aesthetics. They get clocked wrongly for being trans, and it's so abhorrent. It's so abhorrent. Like I feel kind of a little on the intersex pathway just because I have PCOS and I exhibit some secondary masculine characteristics. I have high testosterone. I get facial hair sometimes. I've had to have so much electrolysis. But I'm a woman. I'm she, her. I identify as a cis woman. And so if somebody were to come to me and say, you look like a dude, I can imagine how hurt, I would feel so hurt by that. And that's literally the only thing that these bans and trans hate being legalized essentially is doing. And it's evidenced with like even the whole Olympics thing with Amani Khalif and Lin Yuting. Those are cis women. Like the whole fact that this trans debate, trans women in sports thing, stemmed from two cis women being called out for being men. Again, two cis women of color. How fucked up is that? They're not even trans. And so again, if they were trans, they would have the hormone replacement therapy in place to ensure that they're safely competing against other cis women. So, but just because they might have high testosterone, or they might even be intersex themselves, which they are not evidenced to be, these two women in particular, it's one of those things where, they have regulations in place for this. They have tests in place for this. So for the public and J.K. Rowling and J.D. Vance to just be calling out people because they think they look like a dude, it's really fucked up. It's really fucked up. And so, like, that's just the whole trans women in sports thing. But then if you look at, like, the whole, oh, you're trying to change our kids and the trans agenda. And just really think about how stupid it is and how dumb it is. Like you genuinely think that kids are going to school and having, surgery? You think the place that sends at least 3 kids to the wrong house because they can't get the bus routes right, in the first days of school, like you think that's who's coordinated enough to actually like, manage major surgery? Where do they do it? In the gym? What's happening? I don't understand how that this is a fear that's even believed. So whenever I'm presented with that, where it's like, okay, you can't possibly think that little Johnny is going to school and coming home as Sally and his peen got cut off. You you can't believe that. So it has to then be that you're wanting to perpetuate a lie because it serves your hate, because it serves your transphobia, it serves your bigotry. And so it's one of those things where, you know, I get really tired of people excusing their hatred. Like, if you're gonna be racist, just be fucking racist. If you're gonna be a bigot or transphobic, just be that. Don't try to blame it on I'm trying to protect kids. Don't blame it on I want to make sure that they're not making a decision that that's irrevocable, when that's really just absolutely not the case. So I digress. I feel like I'm just talking a lot right now. And this is your time. This is your space. So if you're wanting to interrupt at any time, please know that you can do so. In fact, if you want to dial *67 before. Okay, that was a weird noise. But before you call that number, I have 3 dogs and 2 kids and a husband. I never know what sounds are happening at any given time. But yeah, if you want to call that number with *67 ahead of it, you can block your caller ID from, or you can block your number from my caller ID if that's a concern for you. Otherwise, I promise I'm not going to do anything with your phone number or your information. You're more than welcome to, again, call in and interrupt and let me know what's on your mind. Because this is your time. This is your space. This is Call a Liberal with your host, your friendly neighborhood leftist, Sophie of sexwithsophie.com. I teach people how to talk to each other about sex and sexuality. So whether you're looking to talk to your kids or talk to your partner or have better self-talk with your self-love sessions and things like that, that's a good place to go, sexwithsophie.com. But also, I try to teach people how to talk to each other about some of these really polarizing issues around sex and sexuality, like trans rights, like some abortion care, like women's reproduction or reproductive health and things like that. A lot of LGBTQ issues. Oh, hi, Doug. That's my puppy's name from the movie Up. The dog that was like, oh, everybody's over here, squirrel. That was my dog, so we named her Doug. So glad to see another Doug in the mix. Hi. I'm just here, again, opening this space in case anybody wants to give me a buzz and chit chat about some of the topics I have above, especially if you disagree, because this is not a debate show. I'm not here to beat anybody over the head with what their logical fallacies are. I genuinely want to find some common ground and commonalities with our thinking, because I'm willing to bet that even if you are anti-DEI and pro-life and super Christian or whatever the case is, I'm still willing to bet that we can find some common ground with each other. Because again, we have so much more in common with each other than you probably do with Elon Musk and Donald Trump and Jeff Bezos and Mark Zuckerberg and all these folks out here who are making billions of dollars. And what's so crazy is if you think about that amount of money, it takes what is it, 12? Oh, I heard a really interesting stat. It takes 12. Oh, I'm going to get it wrong. Let me look it up. It's something about how long it takes to count to 1 million versus how long it takes to count to 1 billion. Let's see if I can do this. How long to count to 1 million? How long to count to 1 million? It's like I'm not gonna help you in any way. I'm not gonna be helpful. Count. I'm trying to do my transcription. 1 million. Okay. It would be nice if you just gave me a fucking answer. It's like, nope, not gonna do it. 12 days. Thank you. It would take 12 days for you to count to 1 million, but it would take you 34 years to count to a billion. And so it's one of those things where, again, they're so far out of our stratosphere of thinking. There's so far out of our realm of understanding our existence in any way, shape, or form that you cannot think that you have more in common with Ellen and Trump than you do with me. Again, no matter how far apart you might think we are on some of these issues that I've listed above. So again, I welcome your input. I encourage you to leave comments or again, give me a call. You can text that number if you want to call, but you're concerned about your caller ID showing up. First of all, I would never do anything with your information, but if you feel more comfortable blocking your number, you can press *67 before you dial that number to block your phone number from my caller ID. But yeah, if you want to interrupt at any time, that's perfectly fine. She's just been talking this whole time. And spitting. Yeah, gross. She's got all these teeth now. Can you see her teeth? Hi. It's exciting. It's exciting. I love babies and kids. I really do. I'm so happy to be a mom. What's so funny is I'm so happy to be a mom, but I have a lot of friends who are dinks, like double income, no kids, or sinks, single income, no kids, do not want children, never wanted to be parents. And I absolutely applaud that. I absolutely support that. And so I never understood how abortion bans were even a thing, because there's so many people out here who do not want kids. And that should be reason enough to allow them to have a small abortion if they just don't want to be parents. Why would you want a child to be raised in a household where they are not wanted? Because the mom needs to have a punishment or she can't just do, like, why not? Why can't she just do whatever the fuck she wants? Like, I never quite understood that. I also never understood how just because you might not want to have an abortion or be trans yourself. Okay, but how does that then give you the right to talk about what anybody else can or should do? It's so crazy to me. So again, I do like to try to unpack where some of that hatred comes from. So if you're wanting to chat about it, I'm right here for you for the next little bit. Again, if you want to dial *67 before you call that number, that's the only real way for us to have a conversation right now, because I'm such a baby TikToker. I don't have guest access. Hopefully after today, I've met my targets where they'll let me do that. And I think it'll be easier for people to interact on some of these topics. But what are you doing? Baby girl. Sleep. You gotta go to sleep. It is 1:00 in the morning here in the UK. And so, yeah, she's still awake. I don't know why. But ultimately, oh, thank you so much for the likes. I really appreciate that. Wow, I've got a 170 something. That's amazing. Wow, thank you so much. Be sure to follow along as well, because I do try to go live nightly and maybe talk about a different topic every night. But again, I have the list of topics that you can choose from if you want to call and chit chat or leave comments with what your thoughts are. I think we've had some nice traction with people today. Like there was a user named Mama who, again, I agree with her on so many things. I agree with her that, only 1% of some abortions are medically necessary. Like, okay, I don't see how that changes anything else, but I can agree with her facts on those things. So ultimately, yeah, I'm not here to beat you over the head with how wrong you are about something, or to be like the facts are just your logical fallacy, just, like straw man. Okay. Red herring. I can't do it. I can't do it. Again, mad love, mad respect to Destiny, Javon Bradley, Luke Beasley, Dean Withers. I love watching these guys, like Mehdi Hassan, like just obliterate people. Like, it's fun, but that's not possible for me. And it's not because I'm too nice. I think I just maybe I'm genuinely wanting to understand how you can feel that we're so far apart on some of these issues when all of us just want to be healthy and happy and be free and be safe, and we want what's best for our kids. Or if we don't want kids, we want to be able to not have kids. We want, everybody wants the same things. Everybody wants their families to look like how they want them to look like. Everybody wants their, oh, thank you, goodness. Somebody's calming down. But yeah, so I just don't see how we're made to feel like we're so different, or we're on such different sides of issues, when that's just not the case. That's just not true. So some of the other things we talked about, or we talk about DEI, trans, like, so the whole trans thing again. I'd love to understand if you're transphobic. What would be the problem if everybody were trans? What would be the problem if the trans agenda was enacted? Like, I don't know what the fuck people expect that to look like, or how they think the world could or would stop functioning. Um, yeah, I'm also really curious to get more perspectives on patriotism. I'm American, but I thank goodness I do not live in America anymore. I had to escape, but I still have so much survivor's guilt for like leaving, my poor southern state behind. I'm from North Carolina, born and raised, and yeah, it's a shithole country, man. It's a dumpster fire. There's no redeeming qualities that I can see about it. I don't like America. America's terrible. But I love Americans. I'm an American, not an Americant. Okay. And so I absolutely wish the best for my people. I wish the best for my brothers and sisters in America. But as far as systemically, institutionally, America's fucking balls, y'all. It's the worst. So again, if you are patriotic and you're nationalistic, why? Like, what? We're talking about make America great again? Like, when was America great? When was America great? Like, I genuinely would love to know. So those are just some of my thoughts, but very willing to try to find some, again, middle ground. Not even middle ground. I don't think we have to like actually um give up anything. I don't think we have to give up anything. I think some people might have to give up their hate, or give up their gaslighting of themselves, or give up thinking that what they're actually doing and thinking isn't obvious to everyone. So I see a lot of posts now that are like from the right, that are like, of course we don't, of course the groceries are going to take a while to come down. You're so fixated on this one thing with groceries. Hi, you gotta go to sleep. When it's like, no, we knew that it was never about the fucking groceries. People on the left, we knew it was never about the fucking price of eggs. Y'all are the one that tried to make it out that was why you're voting for this person, when in reality you just felt that you had a kinship with somebody who was bigoted against the same people that you were bigoted against. And so that's one of those things where, again, if we can take that veneer away, just uncover the fact that the reality is you have to take a look inside. I think you're a good person if you're MAGA, if you're a white supremacist. I think you're a good person if you're scared of the great replacement theory. I still think you're a good person, but it's kind of like Schrodinger's box and Schrodinger's cat. Like, once you look inside and see, oh shit, I'm actually coming from a place of hate, I'm actually coming from a bigoted position, then you have to move differently. And if you don't, you genuinely can't say that you're a good person. And I can't either. So it's one of those things where, again, I'm hoping this show can help us to kind of get to that place together, to where, let's move more people to that crossroads where they have to ask themselves, okay, am I going to just continue to be hateful now that I know that my thoughts and claims are baseless? Or am I going to actually say, okay, you know what? I'd rather embrace this group of people or this side that I was so against or anti toward, um, so that we can again come together and have more, class consciousness and all this stuff. So, that's the goal. That's the hope. Again, not here to beat anybody over the head, not here to talk about your red herring and whatever else. Um, so yeah, so I feel like I've been blabbing away for quite some time, and thank you so much for the people who kind of hung out here with me. But I think what I might do is hang it up for the evening, get this girl to bed because she is just wide awake. Again, I'm in the UK, so it's like 1:15 a.m. and she needs to go to sleep. So I am going to handle that. But I'm on every night, so please follow. Please tune back in when I go live around 5 p.m., 6, usually more like 6 p.m. Eastern. Very much on CP time. You're welcome to call in or just watch. But yeah, that's my cue, everybody. So I love you all. Thank you so much for tuning in. Hey Peach, I'm just jumping off. But yeah, be sure to tune in nightly. And thanks so much for checking in. But yeah, gonna get this girl to bed. But again, I love you. I do hope that you love one another, but with permission. All right, friends. Good night. Yeah. Listen. That means. Okay, that's fine. Bye, everybody.